Before we started, I would like to let you know that this class is being recorded. If you do not want your name or face on the recording, please change your name and turn off your camera. This class may be posted online, so please be mindful when sharing or asking questions. Thank you, everyone. So, with that, I would like to start. Before I pass it to Joan, I would like to talk a little bit about our program. So, our program is the Caregiver Resource Center OC. Um, the history of Caregiver Resource Center OC is we're serving Orange County since 1988. We are a nonprofit program of St. Jude Medical Center. We're California Caregiver Resource System, and we are funded by federal Older American Acts and Family Caregiver Support Programs. Who is the Caregiver Resource Center of Orange County? We are a trusted partner for Orange County families coping with physical, emotional, and financial responsibilities of caregiving. So our missions is to increase the quality of life of caregivers by helping families and communities master the challenges of caregiving. To be eligibility for Caregiver Resource Center OC clients, that you would be Orange County resident, caregivers, equal adults caring for a person under age 60 with adult onset cognitive impairment and or traumatic brain injury, or a person 60 years or older with a chronic illness that needs significant help with their activities of daily living. So our services are including support groups, caregiver assessment and care planning, education training and legal workshops, counseling, specialized information, and respite assistance. Um, and this is the 50 ways to take a break that remind you to take you a break, and a good reminder that you are taking care of yourself. And how to contact us. So we are located in Fullerton, but we serve throughout Orange County. And we are the part of St. Jude Community Services. And this is our address and phone number and websites on the screen. Um, please reach out to us if you have any questions. So with that, I would like to introduce Joan Chang, that she's going to talk about IHSS in Home Supportive Services Basics.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Joan Chang, she, her pronouns. I'm from Community Legal Aid SoCal. I'm a senior staff attorney here. We're going to talk about IHSS and IHSS basics. Some of y'all may already be enrolled into the program. Some of y'all perhaps are exploring, applying, or maybe in the application process. But keep in mind, this is kind of basics. This might be some information that y'all may know, but I don't want to assume anything. So I want to just make sure everyone gets kind of the foundation, the basic knowledge of this wonderful, amazing program. All right. I'm gonna ask for, let's see, no, not this one. Okay. Can I get a verbal? Yes, I can see the screen that says IHSS Basics.
Yes, I
Okay.
see the screen.
Okay, cool. Oh, it went away. What happened? Okay. Okay, and then I'm a fan of the laser pointer. Can y'all see the red laser pointer? Can I get a verbal yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. All right. We're going to use some acronyms today, but IHSS, it's easier to say than in-home supportive services. But today we're going to be talking about the IHSS program. We're going to dive into kind of an intro into our organization, what services we provide, as a whole, and then more specifically what services we provide in the health unit. I'm in the health unit. We have different units within our office. So we'll explore our organization and what free legal services we provide, and then we'll dive into those IHSS basics. This is our mission statement. But I like to showcase this. This is the mural on the back of our Santa Ana parking lot. I like to show it off and brag about it because a lot of our staff contributed to this amazing, lovely artwork that not a lot of people get to see. So like to show it off when I can. We do have physical offices in Orange County, in Anaheim, and in Santa Ana, and we do serve Southeast LA counties. So we have physical offices in Compton and Norwalk. And these are our different units or departments or practice areas. You know, when you call our office, you're going to start with our intake and assessment unit. You have paralegals who are going to gather a lot of information from you. And we're not asking you these questions because we're nosy, but because we need to see if, one, you're eligible for our services, and two, we really need to understand the full picture to be able to provide you proper legal advice. But we have different units. I'm specifically in the health unit, and we're going to talk about specifically what health unit services we provide. Eligibility. So let me go back here. The health unit and the seniors unit are the only two units that do not have like an income and an asset cap. So the rest of the services within our office do require you to have below a certain income and below certain asset amount. But seniors and health unit services, no matter how your income is or no matter how amount of assets you have, you would remain eligible for our services as long as you're an OC resident. Okay. Eligibility requirements overall for our services, however, again, you need to be an Orange County resident, and again, a particular zip codes within Southeast LA County. Typically, the income has to be 200% or below what we call the federal poverty guidelines or federal poverty level. So we're going to ask you about your household income. We do unfortunately have an immigration requirement. But there are a lot of exceptions. But if you don't fall within some of these other categories, if you are a victim of domestic violence, a victim of trafficking, or a victim of violent crimes, you may fall within our immigration status exceptions. And then just to give y'all a heads up, we don't deal with criminal stuff. We are a law firm that primarily handles civil matters. The only kind of quasi-criminal thing that we assist with is expungements, getting your criminal record expunged. So if you are interested or have a family member who's interested in getting their record expunged, give us a call. But keep in mind, that's for the most part, that's the only thing that we deal with in the quasi-criminal. The rest of the stuff we handle is civil. I'm gonna kind of skip through this, but we do have, you know, the way that we help you can be in a different number of ways. It could literally just be you having one legal question, and then we give you a legal answer over the telephone, and that's it. Or it might be full representation, and then somewhere in between. We do offer free legal workshops and clinics where we're able to assist kind of one-on-one, but more in a group setting. So just to highlight, and you can check out our website, what current clinics and workshops we offer at this time. Our services are free. We don't charge for our services. We're a nonprofit law office. So just keep that in mind. Filing fees or court fees, we don't really have in the health unit, but in other cases where you have like a court filing, we don't pay for those filing fees. But oftentimes our clients will qualify for like a court filing fee waiver, so you don't have to pay those fees. But just keep in mind, again, a reminder that our health unit and our senior unit services, there's no income or asset limit. We're still going to ask you about it, about your income and your asset in your households, but that wouldn't be a bar or a reason for us not to be able to provide you health unit services and senior unit services. And seniors, we consider 60 plus. So if you're 60 years and older, or your family member is 60 years and older who needs assistance, we'd be able to provide assistance with no income and asset cap. Okay, let's dive into the health unit and what we do here. I'm gonna skip this. We serve a pretty broad spectrum of clients. Again, our focus and primary priority population assists low-income individuals and families. However, like I said, we can assist at all income and asset levels. We do assist monolingual folks. We do have staff within the health unit who speak Spanish, Korean, and Vietnamese. But we do have a language line offered for any other threshold languages. We assist folks at all ages. My youngest client, well, I was assisting a pregnant mom who was, a few months pregnant. And my oldest client, I believe, was 101, who was actually really, really great and really involved and, was really on top of things. So, we serve folks at all ages. And for those who have disabilities, mental, physical, including those who are visually and hearing impaired, we do assist those who are on the spectrum, or, parents of those with autism. Those with developmental disabilities, former or current regional center clients. Let's see, sorry, I'm going through the list here. LGBTQIA plus individuals. We do have a handful of transgender clients who are who face barriers accessing gender affirming care. We assist those who are living in long-term care facilities or family members of those who are. And you don't necessarily need to be, quote, sick or have medical conditions. Some of our clients are just calling us healthy, but they just want to see, hey, do I qualify for this health coverage program? So keep that in mind. We serve a bunch of different types of folks. These are kind of our areas. We assist folks in issues with Medi-Cal, Medicare, covered California, including dental. Sometimes folks forget that we help out with dental issues or dental credit card issues. That comes up. Today, we're going to be talking about IHSS. And we also do assist those who have private health insurance through their employers. So these are kind of like the buckets of areas that we assist with. So starting here, eligibility. Eligibility refers to, you applying for a program or perhaps getting denied or perhaps getting reduced benefits within a program. So things like Medi-Cal, Medicare, or covered California. If you've ever got a notice saying, hey, we're going to cut you off from this program, or hey, we're denying your application. Those are eligibility issues that we can assist with. So benefits refers to once you have that coverage, sometimes health insurance plans may deny your care or delay your care. So if you ever have gotten a denial notice in the mail saying, hey, insurance company, we're not going to go ahead and approve this procedure that your doctor is recommending, or we're not going to approve, or we're going to reduce your physical therapy from 5 hours a week to 1 hour a week, things like that. That's our kind of benefits bucket. Or if you are not able to get access to doctors who can treat your particular or rare type of condition, making sure you have access to an adequate network of doctors. We also do represent you in particular hearings. We can represent you in a Medi-Cal hearing, an IHSS hearing, and sometimes every once in a while with a Medicare hearing. So if it gets to the point where you've gotten denied by your insurance plan and then you appealed and you're at the hearing level, depending on the case and the situation, your evidence, we may represent you at your hearing. Medical bills, and this includes dental bills. Sometimes our clients are just calling us saying, hey, I got this bill. I don't know if this is, me getting properly billed or improperly billed. I'm not sure if insurance paid enough. Sometimes we're just taking a look at your medical bills to see if in fact you are being billed properly or illegally. We are the Medicare and Medi-Cal Ombuds Program service provider. So if you are what we call a dual eligible, you either have or you are eligible for both Medicare and Medi-Cal, you can give us a call and we could help you sort out some of those complicated issues, because Medicare in itself is a funky, complex system. Medi-Cal is also a complex, funky system. Combining the two can be funky and complex. So we could help you navigate within those two programs. DMHC, California Department of Managed Healthcare. They're a state agency that regulates a lot of health plans within California. They're considered what we call like a level 2 appeal agency. So after your insurance has denied you, you appeal with your insurance plan. If your insurance plan continues to deny you, then sometimes DMHC is the agency that regulates your plan. So you're filing an appeal with this agency, and we could assist with those appeals. And I like to brag about this. We are a proud member of the Health Consumer Alliance. The Health Consumer Alliance is other legal aids in other counties up and down the state. And we meet regularly and we strategize, and we actually do have contacts and forums and meetings with state agencies like DMHC, like DHCS, the state agency that's in charge of Medi-Cal. And we are able to bring up, things that are happening in Orange County. The same problems might be happening in Sacramento County. And so we could bring your case examples and say, hey, this is happening up and down the state. DHCS, DMHC, can you guys fix this on a state level? So we can take your individual case and hopefully help not only just you, but other Californians up and down the state. Okay. I like to, again, I want to make sure I'm bragging when we should be bragging. So these are some of our health unit wins or health unit successes. We've definitely helped thousands of folks get access to Medi-Cal. Sometimes there's this disconnect. If y'all have Medi-Cal or Covered California, sometimes folks, depending on your income, if your income does fluctuate from year to year or even month to month, you might be bouncing back and forth between Medi-Cal and Covered California. And that bouncing back and forth can sometimes be problematic. So we've definitely helped folks in navigating kind of those transitions between those two programs. Medical equipment, this was a power wheelchair. I had a client, I always forget, it was maybe 4 years ago, where initially the health insurance company said, hey, you don't need this power wheelchair. We're not going to pay for it. We're not going to give it to you. We filed an appeal. We went to a state hearing and we were eventually able to win. This was for a nonverbal autistic minor child who needed, it was like a kind of like an iPad type of device, but it was a speech generating device so that he could communicate with his teachers and his family members. Initially, the insurance plan said, no, you don't need this. We're not going to pay for it. We filed an appeal. We went to hearing, and we won, and we were able to get that device for that kid. This was, I think, 3 years ago. It was during COVID sometime, where CalOptima, the Medi-Cal plan in Orange County, had said, hey, we're not going to pay for this particular surgery to treat my client's lung tumor. And they said, you can do other forms of treatment because this one you don't need, but you should try these other forms. Her oncologist already said it's not safe for her to try these other, treatment options because those are not options for this particular patient. And so we represented them at a Medi-Cal hearing. This was her second hearing because another judge said, oh, we agree with CalOptima and we're going to deny it. But we were able to get another hearing, a rehearing for this case, and eventually win at that hearing. So just to kind of highlight the types of things that we do. saving our clients in over $1 million in improper medical and dental billing. You know, some of these hospital bills that we've saved our clients from were quite hefty. So I definitely think it's over 1 million at this point. And doing what we're doing right now, we've participated in a ton of outreach. We do a lot of presentations and trainings, making sure y'all know what your legal rights are as a health consumer and making sure you enforce those rights and stand up for yourself. Okay, so let's dive in. What the heck is IHSS? IHSS provides various types of services. We're going to talk about what IHSS is and what IHSS isn't. So IHSS includes, a caregiver to come into your home to provide household or heavy cleaning, meal preparation, laundry, what they call reasonable shopping and errands. They also include what we call personal care services. So that means assistance with feeding, bathing, dressing, toileting, things like that. So if you need assistance in doing those things because you're not able to do those things on your own, the IHSS program can provide you a caregiver, or not provide you, but pay a caregiver to come into the home to provide you these services. They also do include some assistance with transportation and medical accompaniment. Keep in mind with the IHSS program, even with what we call protective supervision, IHSS does not provide, quote, 24-hour care, so it doesn't add up to 24 hours. IHSS max, depending on the program, potentially can be up to 283 hours per month. So this definitely is not 24-hour care, but with IHSS, if you're getting this amount, that's the max that IHSS provides. Today, we're talking about basics, but there is kind of a subcategory of hours called protective supervision within IHSS. We're not going to dive into it because I could do, honestly, a whole 30-hour-long presentation on protective supervision alone. But just know that potentially you can get up to 283 hours per month in IHSS. So what is IHSS not? IHSS is not medical care. It's not nursing care. So the care that you're going to be getting from an IHSS caregiver is a layperson, or might be a family member or a friend that you hire. It is not going to be a nurse. It's not going to be a doctor. It's not someone with medical training. So just keep that in mind. It's not this. So just to keep, some folks are not aware, IHSS is not medical care. So you're not going to get somebody to provide you nursing care within your home. That's separate and different. Okay. IHSS requirements. These are the requirements to be eligible for the in-home supportive services program. Let's talk about it. Number one, you must be physically residing in the US. This sometimes does come up because we have clients who travel back and forth between, the US and, perhaps another home country. So you do have to be physically residing in the US to be eligible for IHSS. You must be a California resident. Again, this is a California-based program. You must have Medi-Cal. So typically, some of my clients who don't have Medi-Cal or IHSS, you could technically apply at the same time. But if you already have the Medi-Cal, then you're already meeting this requirement. It's Medi-Cal with or without a share of cost. Without a share of cost basically means it's free Medi-Cal and free IHSS. But if you do have a share of cost for your Medi-Cal, that means you will also have a share of cost for your IHSS. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this, but basically you have to pay your share of cost first before IHSS kicks in. So think of it kind of as like a monthly deductible. So if you have an IHSS caregiver and your share of cost for IHSS and Medi-Cal is $1,300, you're paying $1,300 per month to your caregiver first, and then anything above that, IHSS at the state and the county will pay for the rest. So that's kind of how share of cost works with IHSS and Medi-Cal. You must be living in a home or an abode of your choosing. And so what does that exactly mean? Or what does it not mean? So let's kind of talk about that. That does not mean a hospital. So if you're in an acute care hospital, you can't be getting IHSS while you're at the hospital. If you're in a long-term care facility, like a nursing home, and then this very well includes like an assisted living or a board and care, you will not be eligible for IHSS. If you're living in a licensed community care facility, again, these facilities that are just not quote home or an abode of your choosing, these are not considered home or abode. And so IHSS will say, no, we can't give you services. Again, assisted livings, these are not considered quote own home. So keep that in mind. There are special rules. I'm not going to go into it, but there are special rules for homeless or unhoused IHSS recipients. Basically, you're not, penalized for not having a home, but there are specific rules for our unhoused IHSS recipients. You must submit a health care certification form, and we'll take a look at what that form looks like. You're going to have to get a doctor or a medical professional to fill out the form to confirm certain things. You must be what they call quote disabled, blind, and or 65 years or older. And again, the certification will confirm these things. And this is kind of a duration requirement. You're unable to live at home safely without help. So meaning without IHSS. And then it has to be for at least 12 months. So this is in a situation, for example, if you or your loved one had hip surgery and your doctor said, hey, you had hip surgery, we think your recovery period is going to be about 3 months. About 3 months, maybe 4 months, where you're going to be perhaps bedbound, or you're going to need a lot of help around the house. But then after that, we believe your recovery is going to be good, and you're going to be able to get back on your feet. For that person, they would not be eligible for IHSS. You have to have some sort of condition or disability that would last at least a 12-month period for you to be eligible for IHSS. So keep that in mind. Okay. I know I threw a lot of information at y'all, and I'm happy to take any questions or comments at this time before we kind of roll through. And don't be afraid to ask questions. I tend to be a hesitant question asker, so feel free to ask your questions. There's no such thing as a silly question or a basic question.
Joan, there's a couple questions on the chat.
Oh, okay, yes. Can you help me with those?
Sure, yeah. So, Gail asked, how can we access the recording for this webinar at the later date? So she gave us her email address.
Oh, I think didn't Rachel say that she could get this will be uploaded on the website? Or
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know. Or she's gonna email y'all the link.
yeah. I will talk to Rachel, and then either if possible, we either gonna post it or we can email it to them. And then the other question that Gail asked, could you please refer me to these same services in LA County?
Oh, yes. Can you remind me, how to do that
Sure.
after? I could put
Yeah.
it in the chat.
Okay.
So yes, we serve Orange County, but there's equivalents to all of these in LA County and other counties. The IHSS program is available in all counties in California. So keep that in mind. But
Okay.
I would say like 90% of the information I'm giving y'all apply to all counties. But some of the stuff I'm going to provide is OC specific. But okay, I'll do that after the presentation.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
another question from Lucy.
Lucy.
How does IHSS work for individual with a MADI as shell cost?
Yeah. So think of it as, let me do my pen. So kind of like what we said before. Say, for example, your share of cost is like $1,300 a month. Sorry, this is my chicken scratch with my mouse. 1,300 a month share of cost. So if you have, so the way that it works is Here's 1,300. We're looking at money. This is what you have to pay. So you're paying the caregiver the $1,300, the first $1,300 a month. If you have enough hours where it's going to add up to more than $1,300 a month, this is when IHSS and the state will kick in and pay the rest. So you pay, state pays, CA pays. I'm so sorry. Are you all able to kind of read some of this chicken scratch? Okay. So, for example, say, I'm terrible at math because I need to know exactly. The current pay of rate for IHSS caregivers in Orange County is $18.15 per hour. So if, let's see, 18. So say, for example, you were allocated, IHSS, you applied and you got 100 hours a month. Oops, 100 hours a month. Times $18.50 an hour. This is like math that I cannot do in my head, even though it seems pretty simple. I did not go to law school to do math. Hold on. Let's do this. Okay. That would be what, $1,850 per month. Am I terrible? That's right, right? Okay. So basically, if you're given 100 hours per month by IHSS and your caregiver in Orange County is being paid $18.50 per hour, that adds up to a total of $1,850 per month. So you would be paying the $1,300 and the remaining amount would be paid by the state. So let me do that math. 1,850 minus 1,300 because I am terrible at math. So 500. In this situation, the state is going to be paying 550. You're going to be paying 1,300. So even though you still have a share of costs, it's still worth it for you to have, IHSS with the share of costs, because even though you're paying this amount, you are saving this amount. The state will be paying the remaining amount that's above 1,300, your share of cost. Does that make sense? I'm a visual person, so I hope this kind of chart helps, and I know my chicken scratch is a little bit hard to read, but this is an example of how a share of cost would work if, for example, you had a $1,300 share of cost and you were allocated about 100 hours per month. Okay. Can I get a thumbs up from the person that asked that question? If not, I can maybe explain it in a different way.
Yeah, Lucy just put on the chat. She said yes, and thank you.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Share of costs. You guys just got like share of cost 101 right now. This applies same thing to Medi-Cal as well. So if you ever have, medical expenses, if you have $1,300 in medical expenses, anything above that amount, that's when your Medi-Cal will kick in and cover the rest. Okay. All right. Moving on to the IHSS application process. This is going to be specific to Orange County. But the applications I list here are statewide. So they do have applications in English, Spanish, Chinese, and Armenian at this time. I think they might have more, but I think the last time I checked the website, these were the languages offered. These are the same applications that are provided statewide. So keep that in mind. Whether you're in LA County or OC, it's going to be the same application. But if you are in Orange County, you're going to be applying with the Orange County Social Services Agency. The OCSSA, they have, a Medi-Cal department, they have an IHSS department. So you're going to be seeing, this logo at the top of, the letters that you get from Medi-Cal and from IHSS, but they're technically two different departments. You can apply for IHSS through OCSSA by calling. They have a call number during business hours. You could also complete the paper application and fax it over to them. You could also mail it to their PO box address. And if you like, you can drop it off in person. There's a drop box outside the doors of the IHSS office, which is, I believe, in Santa Ana. Oh, and I didn't include that address. You can go to the website and it'll have the physical address to the IHSS office. And then you could email the completed applications as well. If you do call, they do have folks who speak other languages who can do like a telephonic application with you. Okay, the application process. So remember how we talked about one of the requirements for IHSS is to have your doctor or medical professional fill out what they call a healthcare certification. It has to be filled out by what they call a licensed medical professional. So that doesn't necessarily just mean doctors. It can include a nurse, like a nurse practitioner you're seeing for your primary care, or a neurologist, or a specialist you're seeing. But these are the questions that are being asked on the form itself. Let me get my pen. You need your licensed medical professional to check yes to all of these questions in order to be eligible for IHSS. So let's look at these questions together. Is this individual unable to independently perform one or more what they call activities of daily living, ADLs? So we're talking about eating, bathing, dressing, toileting, walking, and other things like, these are called IADLs, housekeeping, meal prep, shopping for food. You need your doctor to check yes. If any of these boxes are checked no, your IHSS application is going to be denied, because these are the requirements for IHSS. The other question is, in your opinion, in the medical professional's opinion, is one or more IHSS services recommended in order to prevent need for out-of-home care? And there's a description of that in the rest of the form. But the doctor or the medical professional has to check yes to this question. And then lastly, provide a description of the physical or mental condition or physical limitation, functional limitation that has resulted in and contributed to this individual's need for assistance from IHSS. So, typically it'll be like a diagnosis, it might include like dementia or, I don't know, some of my clients have like orthopedic issues, like lumbar spine issues. Whatever it is. And then it is always helpful to actually say things like, unable to walk, or is a fall, not fall risk, but has tremors in the hand, so can't brush their teeth. Things like that. Being as specific as possible is always helpful. And then the last thing that we talked about in the requirements was making sure that there's a 12-month consecutive durational requirement. So they have to say, yes, this person has a condition or functional limitation that's expected to last at least 12 months or expected to result in death within 12 months. So some of our clients, they're in hospice care, they're in their kind of last days and months, but it has to be, they would be eligible for IHSS during that period if they're able to get the healthcare certification form signed. So keep in mind, if any of these are checked no by your doctor or your medical professional, it's going to be an automatic denial of the application. Okay, they also do a home visit. So IHSS social workers will do a home visit because they want to see kind of the layout of the home and talk to you and your caregiver. So they're going to want to see, hey, do you live in a 2-story where the bathroom is upstairs? So you're going to need extra time and hours allocated to getting help going from downstairs to upstairs to access bathroom. So if you perhaps have a condition that, makes you go to the bathroom often. So you want to be specific at these home visits. So how often and how long the assistance that you're requesting lasts for, or how often it's happening. Like, don't just say, I go to the bathroom a ton of times a day. You don't want to say that. You want to say, I go to the bathroom about 10 times a day, and I'm in there for about 10 to 8 minutes at a time. You want to be specific so that the IHSS social worker can understand exactly how much help you're going to need so that they can allocate the hours. So be specific. Don't say sometimes, use hours, minutes, days, whatever it is. Okay. And then IHSS will take into account what your doctor says, what you say at the home visit, the layout of your home, and allocate an X number of hours per month. And then you're going to get a notice of action. So let's look at what that notice of action looks like. Okay, so this is a sample notice of action. This is the same notice of actions that's used up and down the state. So if you're in LA County and OC, it's going to look the same. It's just the top of it will say Orange County instead of LA County. But these are the categories that you can get IHSS hours in. It's limited to these hours. Okay, so anything outside of these categories, you are not, IHSS doesn't pay for a caregiver to provide services in these categories. So keep in mind, IHSS does not give you hours for companionship. Companion time. So you don't get companion time. So for example, if you, want somebody to go to bridge with you, or if you want somebody to go to church or mass with you, IHSS will not give you minutes and hours for a caregiver to accompany you to those type of appointments. So keep that in mind. It has to be related to one of these categories. So meal prep, we're talking about meal prep, meal cleanup. So sometimes meal cleanup might mean, you have, for example, you have tremors, and because of the tremors, you kind of make more of a mess, when you're eating, than someone else without tremors. And so the meal cleanup time might require more. Or if you have a very specific medically limited or medically tailored meal, medically tailored diet, it might require more time for food prep. So keep all of those things in mind. All of those things are the details that the IHSS social worker needs to know about so that they can give you perhaps more hours and more time in these categories. Routine laundry. So keep in mind too, say for example, you soil yourself more often than not. That might require, laundry more often than not. And so, making sure that the IHSS social worker knows about those difficulties so that they can potentially give you more time and more hours in this category. Food shopping, other errands and shopping. Respiratory assistance, again, AKA helping with breathing, bowel or bladder care. So like I said, letting the IHSS social worker know how many times on average you're going to the bathroom, how long you're spending in the bathroom, and all of those kind of those difficulties that you're having because of your conditions. Feeding yourself, bed baths. Sometimes, if you're not able to actually do bathing, then doing basically it's called a sponge bath, but they call them bed baths. Dressing, menstrual care, and ambulation. So if you need assistance with walking and getting in and out of vehicles, they allocate time for these categories. And transferring, that basically means from, going from bed to wheelchair, or from, couch to kitchen table, things like that. Bathing, oral hygiene, grooming, skin, rubbing skin and repositioning. So for those who are perhaps wheelchair bound or bed bound, the caregiver can be paid to, assist you in repositioning and to avoid pressure sores. Helping with a prosthesis if you do have one. And then, or setting up medications. A medical accompaniment if you need somebody to, things like this. If you're a doctor, you go to the doctor's appointment and the doctor says, hey, we need you to change your gown, but you're not able to change into a gown by yourself, and you need your IHSS caregiver to be with you to do that. The IHSS program can provide you hours and pay the IHSS caregiver for that time to accompany you to those doctor's appointments, things like that. Or when I don't know, when the doctor's office is needing to weigh you and you need assistance in getting onto the scale, or perhaps you need assistance with filling out forms because you have tremors in your hands that don't allow you to fill out doctor's forms by yourself. Things like that. Those are the details that you want to make sure your IHSS social worker knows about so that they can allocate hours for that. And then to and from to get you to get services in place of IHSS. Oh, so say for example, you're going to like an adult health daycare, and you go there, I don't know, 3 times a week. You need if those transportation services aren't already provided to you for free, you can have your IHSS caregiver, drop you off and pick you up from the daycare, and that drop off and pickup time can be allocated into your IHSS hours. Again, I'm not going to talk about protective supervision and paramedical services, but they are additional categories where you can get additional hours. Oof, additional hours. Okay. This is how it works. This is how it's going to look like. If you are IHSS recipient already, or if you're going to be, it's important to know this because this is how the IHSS program calculates how many hours you're getting per month. It's really important. They do a lot of math here. If you don't even understand the math, feel free to give us a call and we could kind of explain it to you. But it's important for you to know and realize how they calculate it and how much they're giving you, so that if you want to file an appeal because you don't agree with the number of hours you're getting, or if they're trying to cut your hours, you can understand exactly where and how they cut it. Okay, I do want to make a note here. There is this category right here where it says adjustment for others who share the home. So basically what they prorate your hours and cut your hours or reduce your hours. They will do this if you live with others, so for example, if you have roommates who are already doing some of these services or some of these things around the house already, you might get a reduction in your hours. Also, in a situation where you have a spouse who is, quote, able and available, the IHSS program kind of assumes that your spouse is doing these things for you in the home already. And so if you have a spouse who is not able or not available to do these things, make sure you let your IHSS social worker know so that they don't cut your hours in these areas. But typically, if you have a spouse who physically and mentally is able to caregive and do these meal prep, cleanup, laundry, food, errands, and is available, meaning that they're not working a full-time job, or they're not outside of the home on a full-time basis, then they're just going to assume that your spouse is going to do all of these things for you, and prorate it, or potentially reduce the whole thing. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you do have a spouse who is not able or available, make sure you let your social worker know. Okay, any questions at this point?
Yes, Jones, there's one question from
Please.
Delia. She asked, if you fail to submit the doctor form and get denied, are you able to apply again?
Oh, yes. Yes, you should. They usually give you, I forgot what the time frame is on how long they give it to you for. But just keep in mind, these forms are also available online. Technically, the forms themselves will come from the IHSS social worker and get mailed out. But even if you just download it on the website, I think the IHSS social worker just still needs to call up the doctor's office and say, hey, is this your signature, just to verify that in fact the doctor did fill it out. They can still do that. Yes, but you do need it. It is a requirement because you do need a medical professional, a licensed medical professional to confirm that you meet those requirements. Okay. All right. We have a little bit more left here. There is something called, I like to call it temporary IHSS, but Medi-Cal does have what we call community supports. Community supports includes these two different programs. So this is coming from Cal Optima's form. In the next slide, we have the Kaiser form. The two Medi-Cal plans in Orange County are Kaiser and Cal Optima. So if you have Medi-Cal and OC, you're one of two of those plan members. But this is what the Cal Optima Community Supports Referral Form looks like. So this is what they call the Personal Care and Homemaker Services Community Support. It's basically like temporary IHSS. So in a situation where you have to have one or both of these. It's someone who is at risk of hospitalization or institutionalization in a nursing facility, and or a member who has functional deficits and no adequate support system. And so this is in a situation where you've applied for Medi-Cal or for IHSS and you're just waiting because the IHSS application process can take some time. Or in a situation where you've been approved for IHSS and you've made a request to up your hours and that's still pending, then it's kind of like Cal Optima can pay for a caregiver to kind of fill in what IHSS isn't providing it temporarily. So keep that in mind. And then it says, has a family member or a friend been interested in becoming a caregiver? I think there might be a scenario where perhaps like even Cal Optima can pay your family member or your friend to provide those services. If not, if you don't have someone, Cal Optima does vendor with home health or home care agency, what do they call them? Not home health, home agencies. I think it's just called home agencies. Because again, it's not medical services you're getting. It's not nursing care you're getting. They can hire an outside person to come into your home and provide IHSS services temporarily. There's also something called respite care. So if you are the caregiver and you need a break from doing the full-time caregiving that you're doing perhaps for your spouse or for your family member or your friend, there can be respite care services that are provided by Kaiser or by Cal Optima. There is a limit on respite care hours. It's 336 hours per year. But again, it's a situation where someone is getting in-home care from a family member or friend, dependent on a qualified caregiver, and without one member would need to be in a nursing facility. And then they're also going to ask you how which dates are you going to be needing respite care. So say for example you're the IHSS caregiver for your spouse and you have doctor's appointments or you just kind of need a physical break from all the caregiving that you're doing. This respite services community support program is kind of there to fill that in and fill that void to make sure that your spouse does still get the care, but you still get a break. Okay, so this is the same thing as this. This is Kaiser's form. If you are a Kaiser Medi-Cal member in Orange County, the form looks pretty similar. Again, it's the same program, Personal Care and Homemaker Service Program, or the Respite Services Program. And you just need to check these boxes because you do need to qualify for these services, but most likely you do if you've applied for or are currently an IHSS recipient. So in a situation where you've applied, but you're waiting for IHSS, or you've been approved and you want more hours, or this might be a situation where this is a great one. You're not eligible for IHSS because you want to avoid a short-term stay. So you know how IHSS has that 12-month duration requirement? So say, for example, you need, in-home care, but it's just going to be for a temporary period. If it's going to be less than 60 days, Kaiser and CalOptima potentially can go ahead and pay for someone to provide you those services while you're recovering in the home. This one is, someone who's at risk of hospitalization, or when they say institutionalization, they mean nursing home. So just keep that in mind. It's kind of a term of art in Medi-Cal, but institutionalization is not the greatest term, but they still use it. It's old school. It basically means being placed in a nursing home. Okay. Okay. Let's move on. IHSS is for undocumented persons. So keep in mind, Medi-Cal has been expanded where no matter what your immigration status, if you meet the other eligibility requirements for Medi-Cal, you would be eligible for what we call now full scope Medi-Cal. In the past, they used to call it emergency Medi-Cal for those who are undocumented, but now you get all the benefits of Medi-Cal no matter what your immigration status is. This is kind of the history. Back in 2020, we gave it to those who were 25 and younger. Then we called it the older adult expansion. Then last year we expanded it to the entire age bracket. So no matter what, if you are if you're undocumented and you have and you're eligible for Medi-Cal because you're still under the income limit, you're a California resident, you meet all the other requirements for Medi-Cal, your immigration status is not a barrier to you getting Medi-Cal. But for undocumented folks who get Medi-Cal, you can also get IHSS if you're eligible for it. But let's talk about perhaps some limitations here. So the IHSS recipient, the person who's getting the IHSS hours, that person must at least apply for what we call an ITIN, an individual tax identification number. So because technically you are a quote employer, once you are, because you are employing a caregiver to come into your home, you're kind of like an employer. Again, IHSS only requires that you apply for an ITIN, but they may not follow up to see if you actually end up getting it. So you still do need to apply. There's a letter that says all you need to do is apply for the ITIN number. If you are the IHSS provider, so you're the caregiver, you do have to have, hold on. So IHSS providers can be family members or friends, but again, all IHSS caregivers are required to provide documentation that they are legally eligible to work in the US. So keep that in mind. You may be an undocumented IHSS recipient, but your IHSS provider, your caregiver, needs to have some paperwork that says they're legally eligible to work in the US. So keep that in mind. This may be a limitation or a hurdle for perhaps some family members or friends to be your caregiver. And again, in Orange County, the current rate for IHSS caregivers is $18.50 per hour. It's not a lot, but for some, it really does help out if you're receiving this amount of income. Okay, IHSS appeals. I'm going to go through, I realize we only have 2 more minutes. If you are not happy with the decision you have from IHSS, you have 90 days to file an appeal. There is something called aid paid pending. That basically means that, for example, if your hours got cut or they're planning on terminating your IHSS, you get to keep your IHSS, or you get to keep your original number of hours, as long as you request for the hearing before the effective date. So let's look at an example. Say, for example, on July 10 is the date that you got the notice of action that reduces your hours from 100 to 50. So that it's no longer 100 and they're cutting it down to 50 hours a month. The effective date is going to be August 1. Technically, you have 90 days to request for a state hearing. And so that deadline is October 8th. But the question is, when should you request for a state hearing? This is a question for y'all. A little quiz here. So again, the date of the notice you got is July 10. It doesn't go into effect until July or August 1. Technically, the 90-day deadline to request for a hearing is October 8th. But when should you request for the hearing? Any guesses? Any guesses? Okay, well, I'll give the answer. You want to do it before August 1st. Because if you request for your hearing before August 1st, you get to keep your hours to 100. It doesn't get cut to 50. You get to keep your hours to 100. You want to do that because state hearing appeals can take several months. And so during those months that you're waiting to get a hearing and waiting for a decision from the judge, you get to keep your hours, or you get to keep what was originally given to you. And even if you lose, you're not going to have to repay your aid paid pending. So even if the judge says, hey, I agree with IHSS that we're going to cut your hours to 50, you don't have to pay back those 50-hour difference while you had the 100 hours in place. So keep that in mind. Okay. IHSS, if you want assistance from our office, we can screen you for IHSS if you're not sure if you're financially eligible for IHSS. For IHSS applications, my understanding is, Tanha, that Caregiver Resource Center does assist with IHSS applications.
Yes, if they are the client with us and they would be
Yes.
assigned to family consultant, yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
But you can apply over the telephone with IHSS, the office directly, and they have staff again who speak multiple languages who may be able to provide you assistance in your primary language. But just as a side, Caregiver Resource Center OC does help you fill out the forms. Keep in mind, for our office, we may be able to help when either your application gets denied, you get a reduction in hours, or if you get denied or cut off from what we call protective supervision. Okay. Okay, this is just a quick, sorry, I'm going over, I know, but just to let you know, the question is, can California go after my assets after I die? No, IHSS benefits are exempt from estate recovery. So California payments that are made to your IHSS caregiver, that money that they give to your IHSS caregiver cannot be recovered. So you don't have to worry about that. And this is how to reach us. Okay, I know I kind of apologize, but I want to make sure I leave any time for questions, comments, concerns.
That's okay. Thank you, Joan. This one question
Yes, please.
on the chat from Champa. Her question is, so IHSS is not available for Medicare patients, only Medi-Cal. Is that correct?
So you can have both Medicare and Medi-Cal. If you only have Medicare and you're not eligible for Medi-Cal, you are not eligible for IHSS. IHSS and Medi-Cal are like need-based programs, so you have to financially qualify for them. But there might be a situation where you might have a share of cost, and it still might be worth it to have IHSS with the share of cost, depending on your hours and what your share of cost is. So if you are just not even sure, hey, am I even eligible for Medi-Cal? Am I financially eligible for IHSS? You could give us a call and we could screen you.
Right. Thank you. And then was her comment earlier from Chamber, and she said, I hope this program will continue. I am
Yeah.
new to this, so grateful we care about those that can't care for themselves.
Yeah. I
Thank
know
you.
this is the Caregiver Resource Center. Y'all are, if your spouse or your loved one already has IHSS, you may very well be their IHSS caregiver. So, I know a lot of the times, even before you applied for IHSS, you were already doing these things without getting paid. But the lovely program, IHSS can potentially get you paid for the things you're already doing.
Right.
So if your family member or friend is eligible, have them apply.
Yeah. And yes, and we will email you all the recording for today.
Yes, yes. Okay.
And then Jones, it's just friendly reminder when you have chance, would you mind to post the same services in LA County for
Oh,
one of the
yes, thank you.
attendees? Thank
Uh,
you.
yes, let me look that up because I'm gonna have to look it up. Stop sharing. LA County, IHSS application. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna put this in the chat. This is the link to the IHSS. Um, in Orange County, we call it Orange County Social Services. In LA County, they call it DPSS, Department of Public Social Services. Department of Public Social Services, yeah. But same thing, just
Thank you.
different.
Thank you, Joan. And our last question on the chat
Uh-huh.
is from Yvonne. She asked, can a spouse get paid for services to a husband?
Yes, yes, yes. There's an IHSS provider like orientation onboarding. You have to get live scanned, fingerprinted, and you have to go through an orientation program. But yes, it's very common for spouses to provide, to be their IHSS caregiver. And if you have Medicare or you're 65 or you're disabled or you already have Medicare, that IHSS income that you get is not counted against you for Medi-Cal or for IHSS purposes if you're living with your spouse.
Okay, great. Thank you, Joan.
Yeah.
So um, I think that's all the question that we got. And does anyone have any question for Jones before we end class? You can unmute or,
Can more than one family member be caregiver for an elderly
oh,
parent?
yeah.
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
yes. There kind of the opposite. There is a limit as to how many hours one caregiver can provide. Um, where there's scenarios where you might be an IHSS caregiver for two different people. But there is a cap, but there might be exceptions for you to go over that cap too. But to answer your question, Chapa, yes, yes, more than one family member can be an IHSS caregiver.
Thank you, Jones.
Yeah.
So with that, um, we really thank you, Joan, for a wonderful uh, information about IHSS, and thank you everyone for your time today for the class. And hopefully we can do something like this again in the near future.
Yes.
And thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Take
Thank you,
care.
Joan. Thanks.